Hi guys, my name is Ahmad Malik and I am the integration and analytics squad leader at Adasight. And today in this video, we are going to look at how we can set up revenue reporting for your product within Amplitude. So there are multiple ways through which we can do that, and now we are going to go through Amplitude and see um, what are the different ways in which Amplitude allows us to set up revenue reporting. Okay, so the first way is the easiest way, and the way this video will work is that we will progress from the easiest way to the hardest way, but then the hardest way gives us more granularity and more insight into the data. However, for beginners, it's recommended that you start with the easiest approach first so that you can see how Amplitude can be used to measure the revenue that your product is generating. So, we are looking at a sample project. The first thing that we have to do is we have to identify the revenue generating event. So, in this example, we are looking at data of a sample e-commerce store, and over here, the revenue generating event would be complete purchase. So, the first thing that we have to do is we have to select the event, and then we have to select the event property which measures the revenue for that event. So, in this case, we are going to click on group by and we are going to select the price property. So this property basically measures or tracks the price of each specific purchase. If I click on this, you will see that this data is now grouped by the different price points on which products are being sold. So, if you want to look at the distribution of the prices on which each product is sold, then we can always look at this data. This gives us a trend. If we want to just look at different, sorry, if we want to just look at the overall values, we can select the bar chart from here, and then we can see what are the different or what are the most popular price points on which users are buying products. So over here we can see that most of the products that are being sold are priced at 9.99. But what if we want to look at the total revenue? Then what we can do is we can go to the properties section, and then we can select sum of property value. So now what it is doing is that it is basically calculating the sum of all the events of complete purchase and summing the price value for all of these events. So here we can see that in a 7-day duration, the total revenue is $101,000. If we want to look at a trend, then we can always look at a daily trend by moving on to the line chart visualization. So over here we can see that approximately we're getting approximately $15,000 of revenue on weekdays, and then on weekends it goes down to around 4,900, and then back up to 15,000. So this is the first way in which we can track revenue within Amplitude. So this is one of the easiest ways to do it. Another way that you can do this is you can create a formula. So, Amplitude allows you to measure or track behavior by creating custom formulas within the formula bar over here. So, what we are going to do is, as we discussed in the last example, where we're already grouping the data by price because this is where the revenue data is stored. We are going to use the um, prop sum formula. And the way this works is that it is again doing the same function where it is summing the property value of this event, um, and the property that we've selected is price. And when we apply the formula, we will get the same result over here. So again, we can see that we have um, the revenue total revenue figures over here. um, there are several things that we can do. We can, if we want to, with the formulas, if we want to look at the average transaction amount, we can look at property average. So what this does is that it gives us the average value of the price, or the average transaction value for each of the complete purchase events. So over here we can see that the average transaction value it ranges from 11.3 to $11. So this gives us a range on where our average transaction value lies. So you can make all of these calculations using formulas very easily. So this is the second way in which Amplitude can help you to track your revenue and revenue related data. Now we'll move on to a slightly more complicated approach, which is going to further going to give us, more insights into our data. So I'll go to create, and then I'll select the chart. But what I'll go do is I'll go to additional charts, and then I will select the revenue LTV chart. So what this does is that it basically gives us more insights into our revenue, and we'll just go through an example right now so that you guys can have a better idea of how this works. So we'll do the same thing. We'll select the complete purchase event, and then we need to identify uh, the revenue property, which basically tracks all the revenue data for the complete purchase event, and we'll select the price property. Now what it does is that it is giving us cumulative revenue for 7 days. We can measure this as total revenue, or we can also measure this as average revenue per paying users. But before we dive into further details, one important factor over here to notice is that this is not your total revenue that we saw in the earlier examples, because as you can see over here, the numbers that you see are significantly different from the previous examples. So basically, what this is doing is it is measuring the data of cohorts of users. So somebody who did their first purchase on day zero, these users are locked on day zero, and then their total revenue, is tracked across 7 days. So this tells you how your revenue increases based on a user's life cycle. So gives you a bit more understanding on when your revenue tapers off. So if we change the window from 7 days to 30 days, we can see very clearly that in the initial days the revenue is it increases rapidly, but then it starts to taper off at around day 24, day 25. So again, this gives us more insight on how a user behaves initially, and then how they come back, and then are doing repeat purchases. Ideally we would want this to be growing as days go by. One more thing that we can do is we can also look at the average revenue per paying user. So initially we were tracking it on a total user level. Now we are looking at it on a per user level. So over here we can see that initially users start with an average revenue of around $5, but as time goes by, their average revenue increases to around $54. This can also be looked at as a cumulative revenue, and we can also classify this as a lifetime value of a user. So yeah, this was a very quick overview of how we can track revenue data within Amplitude using different kinds of reporting. So, just to give you a quick recap, we started with the segmentation chart, where we had a very simple way of calculating revenue. Um, and then we moved on to formulas, where we had a slightly a more complicated way, but it was giving us more control over the data. And then we moved on to the revenue LTV charts that Amplitude offers out of the box. So and again, this is a slightly more complicated report, but gives us more insight into our revenue data. So yeah, this was the topic that we want to cover. That we wanted to cover in this video. See you guys in other videos.